So I'm going to start over with the graph of y is equal to 1/2 cosine 2x minus pi. So we'll start by taking our 2x minus pi and putting it between 0 and 2 pi. Why do we do that? We do that because our original period is from 0 to 2 pi. Now, this bx minus c, we put between 0 and 2 pi, and that gives us not only our period change, but also our phase shift. So we'll start by adding pi to all three sides. That gives me pi less than 2x, which is less than 3 pi. And then we'll divide everything by 2. So we have pi over 2 less than x, which is less than 3 pi over 2. So notice that the difference between these 2 points is our new period. If we take 2 pi and divide it by 2, 2 pi divided by b is going to give us pi, and the difference between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 is pi. So our new period is pi, and each increment will be pi over 4. So when I make my table of values, I'm going to start at pi over 2. And then I'll add pi over 4. So pi over 2 plus pi over 4 is 3 pi over 4. I mean, you can think of it this way. This is 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, which is pi. And then plus pi over 4 gives me 5 pi over 4. And then 6 pi over 4, which is the same as 3 pi over 2. So you can make it easier on yourself if you think of it in those terms. And then for my y values, I'm taking my basic y values of 1, 0, -1, 0, 1, and I'm multiplying them by 1/2. And that will give me 1/2, 0, -1/2, 0, 1/2. And we can put those on our graph. Let me just mark my -1/2. And my pi over 4 values are in between these two. So we'll start pi over 2 1/2. 3 pi over 4 is 0. Pi -1/2. 5 pi over 4 is 0. And then 3 pi over 2, positive 1/2 again. And so that's our translated graph, and it's compared to the original cosine graph. We have a vertical shrink with our amplitude of 1/2, and we also have a horizontal shrink because we are changing our period from 2 pi to pi, and we've shifted by pi over 2.